So about anime onlys. This probably goes for the majority of people who watch anime. Most people just don't read manga. And it doesn't count if you read the manga for your favorite anime. I mean just browsing for mangas that you would read. It just doesn't appeal to the majority of anime fans. And I was like that too for a while. I mean I like reading in general. I just didn't read manga for some reason. I made a silent promise to myself that I wouldn't ever read any mangas. It was kind of intimidating in a way. Having a whole world of media that you have no clue about. But then I started to read the mangas of my favorite animes. The first one I think was One Piece. It was One Piece or Villain Saga. One of those two. Villain Saga wasn't getting a second season until like 3 years later. And One Piece was on the Reverie arc when I caught up, like the exact episode the arc starts in. So I might as well have read the manga, since they were stretching every frame in that arc. After that though, I started to get more interested in reading other mangas I've heard about. I read the mangas for other animes I finished like Hajime no Ippo, but then I started to just read mangas that had no animes at all. I started to read stuff like Berserk, Kingdom, I'm a Hero. I don't think I've read that many mangas altogether, probably under 30 total, but I just started to pick up mangas more and more. Most people don't read mangas probably for the same reason I didn't. They were probably just starting to watch animes. And the idea of reading manga on top of that is kind of overwhelming. Like how people back away from One Piece because of how long it is. I've heard a lot of people admit that they probably think One Piece is a good show, but the amount of episodes and chapters is too much of a commitment to some people. That's kind of the same thing with reading manga. If you haven't seen that many animes, having this other pool of content out there is kind of overwhelming. Most people will make the switch eventually. It's really just a matter of when they start to feel like there's less animes to watch. That's what happened to me anyways. For a period of time, I just feel like there's not many animes for me to watch anymore. And I know in the grand scheme of anime, I probably didn't even scratch the surface, but I feel like I already watched most of what I would have been interested in. The only thing I kept watching were just the weekly shows, and even that felt like I was watching less and less, so I really had no other choice but to read more manga. Most people probably start to read more mangas when they hit this point in anime, but I still know a few people who wouldn't. I specifically know a person who would rather rewatch an anime if they had nothing else to watch than just get into a new manga. They're on like their third or fourth rewatch on the same anime. I really don't see the point in rewatching animes at all. I can't see myself rewatching an anime even if it was my favorite show, but there's no way people see the same thing for the third or fourth time and still aren't bored of it. The main reason why I see people who hit this point in anime and still choose not to read manga is because they think it's hard to read. Sometimes people think it's like reading a book, which isn't close at all, unless you be reading mangas that are more text and art, but it's not really comparable to reading a book at all. The panels are just as important as animation in anime. If it's bad animation, it's not gonna tell the story of the anime well. When people saw that 7 Deadly Sins season with ass animation, most of them dropped it on the spot, even if they thought the story was interesting up until that point. It's the same with manga. Just like how bad art can make it harder to get into a manga, when you find one with top tier drawing, it makes it way more engaging. So yeah, mangas are not like reading a book at all most of the time. Another way I hear people spin that point of manga being hard to read is that it's just really hard to understand sometimes. Like it's hard to follow what's going on because it's in black and white, and some manga authors' drawing styles won't help with that, which I can honestly understand. Depending on the manga, it can be hard to follow what's going on. Two that instantly come to mind are Jujutsu Kaisen and Kingdom. Jujutsu Kaisen has a style that a lot of people think is chaotic. It's not really a polished look, and sometimes for the fights it makes it hard to follow. I think it's done on purpose. There's also a lot of times where it's easy to track what's happening, and it makes the fights feel more aggressive, which I think adds to it. So I guess it's more of a personal taste type of thing. But it is true that you can't tell what the fuck is going on anymore in some fights. The current manga right now though is a good blend of both. For Kingdom, what makes it hard to follow is the fact that it's trying to cover wars. It tries to visualize real wars with hundreds of thousands of people at a time. So there's more than a couple of times where you can't really tell what's going on. I again think it's intentional to an extent, since when you really look at it, wars aren't really organized fighting. It's two huge groups of people fighting each other. Unless it's a more focused fight, like between two generals, you're gonna get lost in the fighting from time to time. Since it's not really focused, you can either see it as adding to the chaotic part of wars, or just manga that's hard to digest. It's not really bad art design, but it's something that can turn people off from reading it. Both are great mangas though, so I think you should still read both of them. That's pretty much all I had to say though. If you enjoyed, check out my other video where I talk about the hidden anime genre. That's all I had to say though. Peace.